Hello everybody, my name is Gail. I'm with Plain Jane Back to Basics. I am the owner and creator and maker. I have a lot of fun doing my craft projects and I hope you would like to join me on my adventures. So this is the resin chess set from Let's Resin. This is the chessboard mold that they send you. Here's the chess pieces. It's enough to do one color, so you do one color, then you have to do the other. And then here's the checker pieces mold. So I've prepped my resin. I added some mica powder. I wanted it not to be see-through, and this is what I'm going to do with the checkerboard pattern. So every other square. Once I have the checkerboard pattern done and it's set up and cured, then I'll layer more resin in on top to give it the complementary color to finish creating the actual chessboard. Now I have been letting this gas off for about 10 minutes. There's still a lot of bubbles. I'm not too worried about them because I'm not putting too much resin down in one spot, and it will be easy to get them out in the end. Now I am trying to be careful, but you know, resin does what resin wants to do. Of course, you want to make sure that you're not overfilling, so I'm being a little cautious here. Where it dribbles where I don't want it to be, that's okay. Once it cures, I'll be able to get that out of there. You know, the old adage is true. Do as I say, don't do as I do, because as you'll see here, I kind of overflow. Okay, I'm going to speed this part up here. There's no sense wasting the whole video and just putting in a little bit of resin at a time. And here we go. So you want to go in with a popsicle stick and you want to smooth it out to the edges. Make sure you get your corners. Double check your corners because sometimes it pulls away. That one there at the top, I overflowed that, and so I'll be able to get that cleaned up here in just a moment. There we go. And here we are the next day with the resin board all set up. So these are my squares. As you can see, I've cleaned up the ones that we didn't want the white at. Now what color am I going to use? This pretty blue color. I'll link all the names of the glitters and some of the locations that I got things from down in the comments for the YouTube video. Now this was 3 squirts of A and 3 squirts of B. I buy the big gallon size, and so I have the pumps. It equates out to about an ounce each. Very pretty blue glitter color. And this is the first time working with such a large mold, so I kind of grossly underestimated how much I was going to need. As you'll see here. Oops. Sorry for the position of the camera. I see my hand is in the picture more often than the actual doing, so I'll have to reset my camera up on the other side. A true cast person always has more resin. Don't want to run out in the middle of a project. And here we are. So another 3 squirts of A and 3 squirts of B, a couple drops of alcohol ink, and also the glitter. And would you know, it still wasn't enough to completely fill it up. It would take another 3 squirts of each alcohol ink and glitter to completely fill up this bad boy. Who needs popsicle sticks when you got a gloved hand? Get all that resin out of that cup. And of course, with resin comes bubbles. Lots and lots of bubbles. Big surface area. So I'll use my heat gun, and then I'll go back in about 10-15 minutes and I'll use it again, because you know, as you're going through, those micro bubbles are going to still come popping up. You want to be careful with your molds though. Make sure you don't put that heat gun too close to them. You don't want to melt them. Some of them have a higher heat tolerance than others, so just be careful. I'm going to let that sit, and I actually let this sit for 48 hours. I wasn't taking any chances. I wanted to make sure that it was good and done. So these are the mold pieces. The molds for the pieces, I should say. I've already done the blue ones, and they came out really well. I did the white ones first, but I didn't like how the little, I guess they're pawns in the front line. I didn't like how they came out. I'll show you here in just a moment. So a couple of them came out okay with the ball part, but then the line around there was some air bubbles apparently, and so I didn't see those. And some of them, the ball part did not come out at all, and there was air bubbles at the line. The way the mold is designed, you know, to create it. Just had to tweak it on my pouring skills and get it corrected. So when I did the blue, I did something different, and I'll show you here shortly exactly what I did. But yeah, I ended up chucking these white ones so that I could get white ones similar to the blue ones. I wanted it perfect as can be when it's handmade. So this is my big crafting table. I use it for all sorts of things, and I forgot that I don't want resin all over it, especially my cutting mat. So I had to go get some parchment paper. There we go. And this time I'm using a syringe instead of trying to pour. And there's the syringe. It's a big one. It's 20 milliliters. These are great for when you're using these little molds. Especially when we don't want it to pour too quickly and create those air bubbles. I'm sorry it's off camera, but what you're doing here is you're going to squirt the resin kind of down the side, not directly down the center. And I was filling up to the line just to get resin in there to help let it settle a little bit. Here's a better view of going down the side of the mold piece. Using a syringe allows you to be a little bit more precise. Sorry for that, I hit my printer. Okay, so I've got them all partially filled now. If you take a look, there's that ball on the bottom, and that's the line. That's where I was having the trouble before with the white pieces. So what you want to do is squeeze it. You're going to try to force out any air bubbles, and there's one. Some of them popped on their own, and some of them I had to actually blow on. And you see when I released it and it sucked it back down again, it made a bigger air bubble. So, oh, I forgot my syringe. Hold on, let me get that set up. Okay, again, squeeze, get that air bubble up, get it to go away, and then you're going to take your syringe and you're going to put the resin back in there while you're slowly releasing on the bottom of that mold so it sucks in resin and not air. Still don't fill it up all the way. You want to make sure that it has plenty of time to settle, and you can double check for air pockets. There's that bubble, and it popped. So add some and release. You know, sometimes you have to learn by trial and error, and that's what I ended up doing. So I wanted to show you it's possible to make mistakes, but then you can always not necessarily correct them or fix them, but you have to go back in there and do it differently. Okay, I'm going to speed up through this here. Give it just a moment, it should start. Get those air bubbles out. Resin artist's worst nightmare is those air bubbles. And then go back through and top them all off. Again, being careful that you don't want to overfill. A lot of sanding work afterwards if you overfill and have to get those edges straightened down. I know, I had to.